The night in the alien city was quiet, but the air was thick with an unsettling feeling. The stars above shined brightly, but their light only made the world below seem darker. The human, a simple traveler named Jack, walked slowly through the narrow streets, his boots clicking on the stone path. He had been lost for hours, searching for a place to rest after his long journey. The strange city, with its towering buildings and glowing lights, felt like a maze as he wandered deeper into the heart of the city. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every corner he turned, every shadow that moved, made him tense. But it wasn't just fear, it was something else, something primal, like his instincts were telling him to be cautious. He looked around, trying to find a place to rest, but everything felt unfamiliar. The air was thick with the scent of strange plants and spices, and the sound of alien creatures chirped in the distance. The city was alive, but Jack felt alone. He just wanted to find somewhere to sleep, maybe a quiet spot away from the noise of the streets. Then he saw a small alleyway between two buildings, hidden from view. The dark shadows seemed welcoming, a place where he could escape from the unsettling atmosphere of the city. He hesitated for a moment, looking around one last time before he stepped into the alley. The air here was cooler, but it had a strange, musty scent that made him wrinkle his nose. He didn't care. He just needed rest. He leaned against the cold stone wall and slid down to sit on the ground, trying to catch his breath. But as he closed his eyes, trying to relax, something made him snap them open again. He heard footsteps. They were soft but deliberate, coming closer and closer. His heart skipped a beat. He wasn't alone. Jack scrambled to his feet, his body stiff with fear. His eyes darted to the end of the alley, but there was nothing there. The footsteps stopped. But that didn't mean he was safe. His hand reached for the blaster on his belt. But the sudden sound of a low hiss made him freeze. He turned quickly to find the source, and that's when he saw her. A tall figure stepped out of the shadows, her movements fluid and graceful.
Ow.
She was unlike any creature Jack had ever seen. Her skin was a deep shade of purple, almost glowing in the dim light. Her eyes, large and black, stared at him with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. She was beautiful, but there was something unnatural about her presence. The woman, or whatever she was, moved closer to him, her footsteps silent. Jack stood frozen, unsure of what to do. His hand was still on the blaster, but he didn't want to provoke her. His mind raced, trying to figure out if she was a friend or a threat. "Who are you?" Jack asked, his voice trembling slightly despite his best efforts to sound confident. The alien didn't answer immediately. Instead, she took another step closer, her gaze never leaving his. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he took a step back. The alleyway was small, and there was nowhere to run. His options were quickly running out. Finally, the alien spoke, her voice soft but clear. "I've been waiting for you." Jack's brow furrowed in confusion. "Waiting for me? Why?" She smiled then, but it wasn't a reassuring smile. It was knowing, as if she had seen everything about him. "You're different from the others," she said. You're single quotes, special." Jack's hand tightened around the blaster, but he didn't raise it. Something about her words felt wrong, like she was toying with him. He wanted to leave, but his feet wouldn't move. Her presence was overwhelming, almost hypnotic. "Are you going to hurt me?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The alien girl tilted her head, as if considering the question. "Maybe, or maybe ... you'll hurt me." Jack felt a strange shiver run through him at her words. There was something in her tone, something that made him feel like he was the prey, not the hunter. But before he could respond, she stepped closer, closing the distance between them. Her eyes locked onto his, and Jack felt his body freeze again. She was too close now, too close to escape. His mind screamed at him to move, to run, to do anything, but his body wouldn't listen. He could feel the heat of her skin, the strange energy coming from her. It was almost like she was pulling him in, making it impossible to look away. "What do you want?" Jack managed to ask, his voice hoarse. She didn't answer. Instead, She reached out slowly, her long, slender fingers brushing against his arm. The touch sent a strange jolt of electricity through him. It was as if every nerve in his body lit up, and for a moment, he forgot where he was. He couldn't think, couldn't breathe. The alien girl smiled again, but this time it was different. It was full of something dark and predatory. "I want you," she said softly. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as he realized the terrifying truth. She wasn't just waiting for him. She had been hunting him. Now it was too late to run. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as the alien girl took another slow step toward him. Her presence was like an invisible force, pressing in on him, making his breath shallow and quick. He could feel the chill of the night air on his skin, but it was nothing compared to the heat radiating from her. His instincts screamed for him to move, to run, but his legs felt like they were rooted to the ground. Her eyes never left his as she closed the distance between them. The soft rustling of her clothing was the only sound in the otherwise silent alley. Her long fingers were delicate, but there was something strangely powerful about them, like they could crush him with a simple gesture. Finally, she stopped just a foot away from him. Jack could feel the warmth of her body and the faint scent of something sweet but alien filled the air. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. He had to figure out what she wanted before it was too late. "What do you want from me?" Jack's voice cracked slightly as he asked. Didn't know if he could trust his own words, let alone her answer. The alien girl didn't answer right away. Instead, she tilted her head to the side, her long black hair falling like a veil over her face. Jack's mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. Who was she? What was she? And why had she singled him out? Then, with a voice that was smooth and soft, almost hypnotic, she whispered, "You don't have to be afraid, human. I won't bite." Yet, the words sent a strange chill up Jack's spine. They weren't comforting at all. In fact, they only made the situation worse. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body wouldn't listen. He was frozen, staring into her eyes, unable to look away. "I've been waiting for you," she continued, her voice like a melody. "You're exactly what I need." Jack felt a rush of confusion flood his thoughts. "Do you mean I don't even know you?" His voice was desperate now, a plea for understanding. The alien girl didn't seem surprised by his panic. Instead, she smiled, her lips curving in a way that was almost loving. But there was something twisted in her expression, something dark that made Jack's stomach churn. "You don't have to know me, human. You just need to stay. You'll understand soon enough." Her words were strangely compelling, like a drug pulling him into her orbit. Jack's pulse quickened, but he fought it, pushing against the pull of her presence. Something in his gut told him this wasn't right, that everything about her was wrong. "Stay," Jack repeated, his throat tight. What does that even mean? Before he could process her answer, the alien girl reached out, her hand brushing against his chest. Her fingers were cold, sending a shiver through his body. Jack took a step back, but she was faster. She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength, her grip tightening just enough to remind him of how easily she could overpower him. "No," she said softly, but firmly, as if scolding him. "You don't get to leave. Not yet." The air around them seemed to grow thicker, and Jack could feel a strange pressure on his chest as if something was pressing down on him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her presence was overwhelming. "You're mine now," she whispered, her lips almost touching his ear. "And you'll do exactly as I say." Jack's mind spun. His body screamed to escape, to break free, but his limbs felt like they were made of stone. Her voice wrapped around his thoughts like chains, locking him in place. The alien girl smiled again, a dangerous, knowing smile. "You're afraid, aren't you?" she asked, her voice smooth like silk. "But that's all right. Fear makes you more delicious." Jack's mind reeled as her words hit him like a slap to the face. His heart raced as his thoughts tried to escape, but it felt like the more he struggled, the more she had him in her grip. He could feel her drawing him in, her dark influence wrapping around him, suffocating him with every word. "What are you?" Jack whispered, his voice barely audible as he tried to break free from her hold. Her smile widened. and for the first time she let out a soft laugh, low and musical, but full of danger. "I'm the last thing you'll ever need, human." Fingers slid across his chest as she leaned in closer. Jack's breath caught in his throat as she whispered once more, "Stay with me, and I'll show you things you can't imagine. Let me show you what it means to truly live." Hook. Jack could feel his body betraying him as his mind screamed to escape. But as the alien girl's touch lingered, his vision blurred, and his heart pounded. Would he survive the night, or would she claim him as her own? Jack's breath came in shallow gasps, the alien girl's fingers still lightly tracing his chest. Every touch sent an electric shock through him, and for a moment he felt himself weaken. The pull of her presence, the way her body seemed to hum with energy, was more intoxicating than anything he'd ever felt. It was as if she was seeping into his soul, eroding his thoughts, and replacing them with a strange, insatiable curiosity. But something in Jack's gut snapped him out of it. He wasn't here to fall victim to some alien trick, no matter how captivating she was. His heart pounded as his survival instincts kicked in. He could still get away, he told himself. A sharp breath, Jack yanked his arm from her grasp, stumbling back. His chest heaved, and his mind struggled to regain control. He needed to think, to move, but the sight of her standing there, almost glowing in the darkness, sent a wave of heat through his veins. She wasn't just any alien, she was something else, something far beyond what he had ever imagined. "The hell are you?" Jack demanded, his voice breaking with the weight of his fear and confusion. The alien girl didn't flinch at his anger. In fact, she seemed amused. She stood tall, her alien features shimmering in the dim light. Her skin was a smooth, iridescent purple, glowing faintly, as if lit from within. Her eyes, dark as the void, held his gaze with an unspoken power. "You still don't understand, do you?" Her voice was soft, almost sad, but there was a darkness lingering in it, something hungry. "I am everything you fear and everything you desire. And you, human, are exactly what I've been waiting for." Jack's throat tightened. There was something hypnotic about the way she spoke, but it was also laced with a warning. He had never been more terrified in his life. The alien girl took a step closer, her long, fluid movements mesmerizing in their grace. But this time, Jack didn't back away. His hand tightened around his blaster, though he wasn't sure if it would be enough. It seemed futile, like trying to defend against something that didn't follow the same rules. "I'm not afraid of you," Jack lied, trying to summon some courage. His hand shook slightly, but he kept his weapon pointed toward her. The alien smiled, a slow, dangerous grin that sent a shiver crawling down his spine. "You think you can stop me with that little toy?" she asked, her voice almost mocking. Jack tightened his grip. "I don't know what you are, but if you don't back off, I'll make you regret it." For a moment, she said nothing. Then, with a flick of her wrist, her body shimmered, and the alien girl vanished from sight. Jack's heart leaped in his chest as he spun around, searching the shadows, expecting her to appear behind him. But she was gone. He turned back, trying to calm his nerves, but a soft sound from behind him froze him in place. The quiet, almost imperceptible whisper of a voice reached his ears. "I don't want to hurt you, human. But you have to understand, ... Before Jack could react, she appeared again, right in front of him, so fast that it seemed impossible. Her hands reached out toward him, but this time he was ready. He raised his blaster, but she wasn't aiming to harm him. No, it was something far stranger. Jack's eyes widened as the alien girl's hand extended towards him, and without warning, a glowing tendril shot from her body. It wasn't a weapon. No, it was more like a part of her, an extension that pulsed with unnatural energy. The glowing tendril wrapped around his wrist, tightening with an almost sensual force. Jack gasped as the energy flowed through him, and for a moment his body seemed to lock in place, paralyzed. The alien girl's voice was low, almost purring now. "You feel that, don't you? The connection between us? The bond?" Jack's eyes went wide with horror as he tried to pull away, but the tendril's grip tightened, not allowing him to escape. His body burned with the strange sensation, like every fiber of his being was being pulled toward her. "I'm not like the others you've met," she whispered, her voice now full of something darker, more possessive. "I'm a part of this world, and you are mine now. Look." Jack's thoughts swirled in panic as the realization hit. This wasn't just an alien encounter. It was something far worse, something that would change his life forever. He couldn't escape her. Not now. And maybe he didn't even want to. Jack's mind raced, his pulse pounding in his ears as the alien girl's tendril wrapped tighter around his wrist. His thoughts scrambled, trying to find any way out of this nightmare. The pressure in his chest, the suffocating pull of her energy, made it almost impossible to think clearly. She had him trapped in a moment where the world outside seemed to blur, leaving only her and the burning sensation in his arm. For the first time since their encounter, Jack felt helpless. But then, something inside him snapped. Panic and fear surged into raw determination. No, he wasn't going to die here. His hand trembled as he dropped the blaster to the ground. The alien girl didn't seem to notice she was too focused on the strange connection she was forming with him. Her glowing tendril pulsed with energy, slowly drawing him closer. But Jack wasn't going to give up. His mind flickered to the memories of his training, his survival instincts kicking in. This was just another challenge, another moment of danger. He had faced worse. With every ounce of strength, Jack twisted his wrist, pulling his arm away from her tendril. The alien girl's eyes flickered with a flash of annoyance, but her grip didn't loosen. She had underestimated him. He reached down, feeling the weight of his surroundings, the cold stone wall at his back, the slickness of the ground beneath his boots. Jack's fingers brushed something sharp, a jagged metal piece sticking out. From the broken stones on the floor, his heart skipped a beat. The girl was still fixated on the strange energy she was pulling from him, her eyes glowing with pleasure. But Jack wasn't focused on her anymore. He had found his opening. With a swift motion, Jack grabbed the metal shard, his hand trembling with effort. He didn't know if it would work, but he had no choice. The tendril pulsed again, and he could feel her pulling him in, closer and closer. Just as she leaned in, her lips curling into another smile, he lunged forward, stabbed the sharp metal into the tendril, a forceful, desperate motion. The alien girl's expression flickered from surprise to fury as the energy flared around her body. Her tendril reeled back in shock, and Jack used the momentary distraction to pull his wrist free. The pain shot through him, but he didn't care. He had to move. Without thinking, Jack bolted. His legs felt like they were moving through quicksand, but the sudden burst of adrenaline gave him the strength to run faster. He could feel her presence behind him like a dark shadow, chasing him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. The alien girl's voice echoed from behind. "You can't escape me, human. I'll find you." Her words were no longer sweet or seductive. They were laced with venom, with something darker that Jack had never heard before. She was angrier than he had ever seen her, but that didn't stop him. Couldn't stop now. The alley was a blur as he sprinted, taking every turn, every narrow corner without hesitation. He had no idea where he was going. He just needed to get out of her reach. As he rounded another corner, Jack spotted a door slightly ajar. A way out. He didn't hesitate. He crashed through the door, tumbling into the small, dimly lit room. His body hit the ground hard, but he didn't have time to feel the pain. He scrambled to his feet, pushing the door shut behind him as quickly as he could. The noise of the door slamming echoed in the quiet room, and Jack collapsed against it. Panting for breath, he didn't know if the alien girl was still chasing him, or if she had stopped. But the sound of his own heartbeat was deafening in his ears. He pressed his back against the door, trying to steady his breathing, trying to calm his mind. For a moment, everything was silent. The fear, the tension, all seemed to fade away. But then, as his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he realized that he wasn't alone. A figure stood in the far corner of the room, shrouded in shadows. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It was another alien, tall, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Looking for an escape? The figure's voice was deep and gravelly, but it wasn't hostile. It was curious. Jack's mind spun. Was this another trap? Another part of whatever game the alien girl was playing? He didn't know if he could trust this new alien, but he had no choice. He couldn't stay here, not with the girl out there somewhere hunting him. "Who are you?" Jack asked, his voice hoarse. The alien's eyes softened slightly, but there was still a warning in them. "Someone who might be able to help, but you must listen, human. You can't keep running forever, not from her." Hook Jack's heart raced as he stared at the mysterious alien. Was this an ally, or another part of the danger he was trying to escape? Would he trust this stranger and find a way out, or was he already too deep into something he couldn't survive? The sound of heavy breathing echoed in Jack's ears as he pressed his back against the cold stone wall, his heart thumping violently in his chest. His mind was spinning. Had he really escaped her? Was he safe? The dark, empty room around him seemed to mock his thoughts. He felt trapped, his pulse racing with every moment of silence. The alien's voice, that sweet, dangerous whisper, was still ringing in his ears. "You can't escape me, human. I'll find you." Her words weren't a threat. They were a promise. And promises like that were often far worse. Jack's eyes darted around the room, searching for an exit. There had to be a way out, but the walls seemed to close in on him, reminding him of how little control he had. His only chance was the door, but the alien girl would be right outside, waiting. His mind fought with itself. Should he try to make another run for it, or should he wait and hope she couldn't find him? His thoughts were interrupted by a sharp noise, a distant scraping sound. His body stiffened, every muscle locking in place as he realized the door he had shut wasn't enough to keep her out. The scrape grew louder, more urgent. She was there. She had followed him. A chill ran down Jack's spine, and he slowly turned toward the room's only exit. His fingers curled around the handle of a rusty pipe that lay on the ground beside him. It wasn't much, but it was the only thing that could be used to defend himself. He stepped forward, every nerve on edge, listening for the sound of her footsteps. He could feel her close, like a dark shadow moving just behind his back. And the room had turned oppressive, thick with the knowledge that, at any moment, she would appear, and when she did, he might not be able to escape again. A sudden crash sent Jack's heart into overdrive. The door buckled under some unseen pressure, and the wood splintered with a force that made the walls tremble. His breath caught in his throat as the door slowly swung open, revealing nothing but shadows. For a moment, Jack thought his legs might give out. He had nowhere to run. She was inside. But then the shadows shifted. Out of the corner of his eye, Jack saw a figure step into the doorway. It wasn't her. This alien was smaller, covered in dark scales that shimmered faintly in the low light. Its eyes glowed with a soft, eerie light, different from the alien girl's dark, consuming gaze. But there was something familiar about the shape. This one wasn't a predator. "Stay quiet," the alien said, its voice low and gruff. "She's close. You don't want her to find you." Jack froze, his mind racing. Was this another enemy? But there was something about the alien's tone, something that seemed to promise safety for now at least. Jack's breath slowly steadied. He didn't have a choice. The alien moved quickly, stepping toward him with a purposeful grace. It reached for him, and Jack didn't resist. This strange creature had no intention of harming him. Instead, it gestured to a narrow passageway hidden behind a pile of rocks and debris. "Go, now," the alien urged, its voice filled with a quiet urgency. "She'll be here soon. She can track your every move, but she can't sense me." Jack hesitated. His mind was a storm of questions. Who was this alien? Why was it helping him? But the scraping sound from the door grew louder, a soft click followed by a hiss. The alien girl was here. Without a word, Jack turned and bolted for the passageway. His pulse raced as the passage seemed to narrow, the walls scraping against his skin. He had no idea where it led, but he couldn't stay in that room, not with her so close. The sound of the door crashing open echoed behind him, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he could hear her voice. "You can't run forever, human." Legs burned with exhaustion as he pushed forward, the darkness of the passage swallowing him whole. The air grew stale, the scent of dust and decay heavy in his nostrils. He tried not to think about what was behind him, tried not to imagine the alien girl chasing him down with that predatory hunger. But the passage was too tight, too long. He couldn't keep running forever. The flickering light ahead grew brighter, signaling the end of the tunnel. But as Jack neared it, he felt a strange shift in the air. Something felt off. When he reached the opening, his eyes widened in shock. The exit wasn't what he expected. The small tunnel had opened into another, room one that looked nothing like the alien city above. This room was barren, cold, and empty. But what caught his eye was the glowing figure standing in the center. It was the alien girl. She was waiting. "Hook, you think you can hide from me?" Her voice was soft, but the fury in it was undeniable. Jack's heart skipped. He had escaped only to find himself facing her again, but this time he wasn't sure if he had any more chances to run. Jack's eyes locked onto the alien girl as she stood in the center of the barren room, her presence overwhelming. The glowing light around her seemed to pulse with a life of its own, almost as if the room itself responded to her.
Nice.
Caught in his throat. Every escape plan he'd considered was shattered in an instant. She wasn't even out of breath, not even slightly fatigued, despite the chase. The alien girl moved toward him slowly, deliberately, as if she had all the time in the world. Her steps were silent, her eyes locked onto his, with an intensity that sent a chill through his spine. She wasn't just a predator. She was a force of nature. "You're making this more difficult than it needs to be," she said, her voice dripping with something dark and hungry. Jack's heart thundered in his chest, and his hand instinctively reached for the rusty pipe he'd dropped. Earlier, he had no illusions about the weapon's effectiveness against her. She was too powerful. But it gave him something to hold on to. His mind raced for options. He could try to outsmart her, maybe escape through another tunnel. But there was nowhere. Left to run, he was trapped. The alien girl stopped just a few feet away, her gaze unwavering. Her smile was cold, calculating, as if she could read every thought in his head. Jack's fingers tightened around the metal pipe, ready to swing it, even if he knew it would do little more than irritate her. The thought of going down fighting, however futile, gave him a flicker of courage. "You think you're stronger than me?" she asked, amusement lacing her words. "You're not?" Her hand reached out toward him, and before Jack could react, a strange force yanked him forward. It wasn't her hands, no. It was like the air around him had turned too. Liquid, pulling him closer to her. His stomach lurched as he struggled, but it was useless. The pull was like a tractor beam, unrelenting and fierce. With a swift movement, she grabbed his wrist, her fingers cool as they closed around him. He gasped, the pressure in his chest, making it difficult to breathe. Her touch was gentle, yet her strength was suffocating, her grip unyielding. It was clear now, there was no escaping this. The fight had been over from the moment she decided to chase him. "You're mine," she whispered, her lips close to his ear. "And you'll stay with me, whether you like it or not." Jack's mind reeled. He could feel her drawing him in closer, the invisible force around him tightening. It was like being caught in an energy net, a trap he couldn't escape, a force of gravity that was both physical and mental. Her pull wasn't just physical, it was like she was getting inside his head, turning his thoughts against him. The fear he felt earlier was now replaced by something darker, something stronger. He had no idea what she was doing to him, but his legs felt weak, his body frozen. For a brief moment, he felt like he was being consumed by her presence, like he was melting into her. But then, something in his mind snapped. "I won't go down like this." In a desperate move, Jack twisted his body, trying to break free. He swung, his arm, the metal pipe catching her off guard. The force of the blow didn't do much, but it was enough to throw her off balance. For a split second, she faltered, her grip loosening just enough for Jack to break free. He stumbled backward, his legs shaky, but he didn't stop running. His pulse was in his throat, and he didn't look back. Couldn't. The moment he did, she would have him again. He darted through the opening at the far side of the room, a narrow passageway leading deeper into the unknown. His breath was ragged as he ran, his thoughts filled with nothing but the need to escape, to survive. His mind couldn't keep up. With his legs, just kept moving, trying to outrun the terror that was chasing him. The passage seemed endless, winding and narrow, twisting like a maze. Jack barely registered the strange alien symbols that lined the walls, or the faint, eerie glow that lit his way. All he could think about was getting further away from her. But the sound of footsteps behind him, heavy and deliberate, told him she was still there. She was gaining on him. The walls seemed to close in as the passage grew tighter, the air thicker. It felt like the walls themselves were moving, shifting, pushing him forward, driving him into a corner. The only choice now was to keep running, to keep trying to get ahead. But he could hear her. She was right behind him, her footfalls echoing in his ears. The fear, the dread, surged through him like a tidal wave, threatening to swallow him whole. She's not going to stop. The voice in his head was louder now, the alien girl's presence pressing against him with every step. He couldn't outrun her forever. Jack knew he was running out of time. Hook. He had to find a way out, and fast. But as he turned a corner, the passage ahead opened up into a wide chamber in there. Standing in the center was the alien girl. Jack froze. She was waiting. The chamber was eerily silent. The walls made of jagged stone that gleamed in the dim light like the inside of a cave. Jack's chest heaved as he took in the sight before him. It was too late to turn back now. His mind raced, but there was no escape. He had nowhere left to run. Standing in the center of the chamber was the alien girl, her glowing form casting a haunting light that seemed to draw the room closer to her. She wasn't even out of breath, her movements as calm and graceful as before. In her eyes he saw not anger, but something far worse. Satisfaction. "You think you can escape me?" she asked, her voice soft, but there was an edge of something darker, lurking behind the words. Jack's heart pounded in his ears. Fear he had been running from for so long was now all-encompassing. He should have fought harder, should have made a plan. But now, as he stood in front of her face to face, there was no way out. He couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't escape. "I don't want to hurt you," the alien girl continued, stepping closer with slow, deliberate steps. "But you've left me with no choice." The words rattled Jack's mind. No choice? He had no choice in this moment. Either. He tried to back up, but his feet seemed stuck in place. It was like an invisible force had rooted him to the floor, a weight he couldn't shake. The alien girl smiled, that same dangerous smile from before, and Jack felt his knees buckle. Slightly? Her power was pressing down on him, suffocating him, and the walls of the chamber seemed to close in tighter, as if they were closing him off from the world he knew. "You should have stayed with me," she whispered, her eyes now gleaming with hunger, "but you chose to run. No, you'll never be free of me." Jack's head spun. Every inch of him screamed to escape, but he couldn't move. She was too powerful. He thought back to the few moments when he almost had the upper hand when he fought back with the metal pipe. The fleeting sense of control, the tiny glimmer of hope that now felt like a distant memory. The truth was undeniable. She had him cornered, and no matter what he did, it wasn't enough. "No," Jack whispered, shaking his head, his voice hoarse and desperate. "I will never belong to you." The alien girl's smile faded slightly, replaced by an unreadable expression. She took another step toward him, now just inches away, her presence filling every corner of his vision. Jack could see the faintest flicker of something darker in her eyes, a mix of annoyance and perhaps even disappointment. "Do you still think you have control?" she asked, her voice low and mocking. She lifted her hand, and this time, Jack felt the air shift around him like invisible threads, pulling him toward her, forcing his body to obey her will. She was tightening her grip on him, but it wasn't physical. It was something deeper, something that felt like it reached into his very soul. "I am not your prisoner," Jack shouted, struggling to move, to break free, but it felt useless. He could feel her power slipping through every crack in his defenses. Her influence was overwhelming. She was winning. Her gaze softened for a moment, and Jack could almost see something more human in her eyes. But it was fleeting, gone as quickly as it had appeared. "You're wrong," she said softly, her voice now carrying a weight of finality. You've been mine from the moment we met." Before Jack could react, she reached out and placed her hand gently against his chest. It wasn't painful, but it was suffocating. The heat from her hand seemed to seep into his skin, her presence consuming him in waves. It wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional, a bond that tied him to her in ways he couldn't understand. "You will always be with me," she whispered. "In body, in mind, in soul." Jack's head spun, and for a split second, he thought he might actually lose himself in her. The overwhelming wave of emotion, of connection, seemed like a tidal wave crashing over him, drowning him in her power. Could this be the end? Was he going to be trapped with her forever? But just as he thought he couldn't take it anymore, something inside him snapped. No, he wasn't going to let her win. Not like this. With every ounce of his will, Jack pushed back, fighting against the alien girl's power. He wasn't sure how he did it, whether it was sheer will or something else, but his mind suddenly cleared. He could think. He could feel again. The weight on his chest lightened, and the invisible hold on his body loosened. "You're wrong," he said again, his voice now firm, filled with a strength he hadn't known he still had. "I'm not yours." In that moment, a surge of energy, raw and untamed, coursed through him. Jack felt it rise within him, igniting every nerve. It wasn't physical strength, no. It was something far greater. It was the will to survive, the fight for his own freedom, burning brighter than any force she could exert on him. The alien girl's eyes widened in shock, confusion flashing across her face. She tried to tighten her grip again, but Jack, fueled by something deeper than fear, tore himself away. He didn't know what had just happened, didn't know how he'd done it, but he had broken free. For the first time since this nightmare had begun, Jack felt like he had control. He wasn't going to die here. Not today. With one final push, Jack sprinted toward the exit of the chamber. Behind him, he heard the alien girl call out, but he didn't look back. Couldn't, Hook. His heart raced, but he didn't stop. Door to freedom was within his grasp. He didn't know what lay beyond it, but he couldn't stay and face her any longer. One last chance to escape, would it be enough?